to discuss narcissistic behavioral traits that are being represented nowadays as normal. And one of the main ones that I see on a regular basis is the hookup culture, the friends with benefits. Anything can be defined as narcissistic if it prevents you from creating a bond with another human being. And the hookup culture and friends with benefits, those types of things are all preventing you from creating a bond. What I find is that people are so scared to be vulnerable with other people that they turn to that to get some sort of physical affection. And basically it's just reinforcing that you are afraid to form a physical bond with another human being. I hear people complaining they can't find love. I hear them complaining that they can't trust anybody, that they're being used by other people. Now, some of these people are lying. Some of these people are the people doing the using. And they're going to use the same exact line that a person who actually was used is going to use. You get what I'm saying? They like to flip the script and make it seem like poor me, poor me. It gives them validation, it gives them attention, and boosts their ego. You know, that, oh wow, I got all these people to believe me, even though it wasn't the truth, and they know it. But the way to prevent getting yourself with a person like that, because they really know that if they were to portray their actual feelings right off the bat, you would not ever have anything to do with them. So they want to get you invested into the relationship first, and then they can start to treat you a little more poorly and a little more poorly, or use you a little more, or whatever as time goes on. They're basically trying to beat you down to their level. There's big red flags, though, of people who are not emotionally balanced. You need to take the time to get to know a person before jumping in a relationship with them, because you're going to find out a lot about them through different little things that you see when you're around them, when you're in what's supposed to be the courting or the dating period. Sorry, I'm super old-fashioned, so I don't get into hookups or friends with benefits or anything like that. I don't, I have done it in the past. That's how I learned I didn't want to do it. So, but like, there's certain red flags. I've actually had guys come up to me, and I'm going to say guys only because that's what I date, come up to me and say, I am in no way suggesting that women don't do the same thing. So I'm just saying that I'm a female. I get guys come up to me. Coming up to me saying they're not interested in a relationship, that they'll never get married again. They'll say things about blah, 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 so-and-so hurt me in the past, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And those are big red flags that you are dealing with a person who has not taken the time to process their emotions properly about whatever incident messed them up. It's like a vicious cycle. Some of them understand it and some of them don't, that they are causing the same trauma that was inflicted upon them, but they're doing it repeatedly over and over and over again to other people who don't deserve it. So the first exercise that I want to kind of go through is, anybody watching me, including myself sitting here right now, look at yourself in the mirror. Can you say to yourself, I have never inflicted harm upon another human being that didn't deserve it? And that means whether you did it to their face or not. Because there's not one single person here, including myself, who can say that they've never done that. You get into a culture nowadays where it is almost normal in a lot of places that people meet up, they have sex, and then they end up in a relationship together. They have sex because they're physically attracted to each other, or whatever the case may be. If you are a physically attractive person, you tend to get people who go after you just because of that. They don't want to take the time to get to know you as a human being and understand if you would actually be compatible. They want to have that arm candy or that ego boost of having somebody who's physically attractive on their arm. So people have to be very careful. Regardless of what you look like, regardless of what trauma you've been through, you cannot go around inflicting trauma on other people just because you chose wrong. You didn't take the time to be more picky about who your friends are, who you're dating, whatever the case may be. People who put you down, or people who haven't healed emotionally, don't need to be a part of your life at all, period. A very strong individual can walk through this life alone and still have a fulfilling life and be happy. You need to find a person who you would be compatible with. And that's one of the things that people don't take the time to stop and do anymore. They're more interested in all sorts of other things, but what the important stuff is. Would we actually get along? I'm a loner. I can hang out on my own. I can do my own thing. So for me to be with someone who has to constantly be around people because they are emotionally imbalanced and they validate themselves through other people and they don't want to sit alone and evaluate themselves to understand whether they're inflicting this trauma and stuff like that, we would not be a compatible, we would not be compatible together. But there's many things that make you compatible or not. There's so many different components, people just are in such a state of trauma and emotional trauma that you gotta step back and give yourself a chance to breathe so you can think logically enough about picking your next relationship. And I see people who sit back and they're alone for years and still do not emotionally adjust enough to be able to enter a healthy relationship again. Because they're not working on themselves. They're not letting the past go. They're not healing from traumas that caused them the issues to begin with. They're just continuing barreling through life on ego, and that is, the end result of that is always an explosive, horrible mess. Okay? So try to take the time to pay attention to the red flags before you get yourself too emotionally involved with somebody. One of a narcissist's biggest tricks, and you can see it all over the internet, is trying to make you fall in love with them before you actually see what they're all about. And they try to do that rapid fire, hurry up, before you get a chance to understand. And these aren't just narcissists. These are people with high narcissistic behavioral traits. Those that go around using people. Some people use people for sex and they didn't realize it. Some people use people for their energy. Here, take care of all my garbage because I don't want to do it. But I want the credit for doing it. I've been with a couple of those. Let me take the credit for all of the work you did. And it just, they're not, they have a very low self-esteem, and they have a very big, huge inferiority complex because they are perfectly capable of handling it on their own. But they would have to sit with themselves and get right with themselves in order to be strong enough to handle all of that. And that is a difficult process to walk through. You have to actually look in the mirror and evaluate yourself. All of the trauma that you have been through in your life that was inflicted upon you, most of the time at a young age, you need to come to terms with that before you try to get yourself into a relationship. You need to let that go. Look at it, and you've got to understand you cannot control the way another human being has acted. Okay? But you can control your life after the fact. So if your life is crap and you're going to blame it on something that happened to you when you were 2, 3, 10, 12, whatever the case may be, you are not in any way emotionally mature enough to be in any sort of romantic relationship. Period. And if you don't like what I have to say, shut the video off and go away. Because what I'm telling you is the truth. You are in no way should be in any sort of romantic relationship. All you are doing is traumatizing people. Because they're going to catch on that you are not fully into the relationship. You are keep holding yourself back. You're holding yourself back. You don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to be... There's really key clues to it. And the point is that you can't enter a romantic relationship like that and expect it to be successful if you are holding back. And you have to make sure that to determine that the partner, the person that you're going into that relationship with, is also not going to hold back. You both have to go all in, as if you were each other. Treat that person like that, as if their life, your life depends on their life. Hurting them hurts you. Now, don't let a narcissist play this game on you. Oh, you don't love me enough. You have to learn to set healthy boundaries and step away from a situation where when you express that, hey, this hurts me, or this bothers me, or I don't like it when you say this, or I don't like it when you do this, or I feel like I'm being used, whatever your problem may be, if you step up and say something like that and they blow you off, there's your red flag. Because they don't care enough about you to actually pay attention to what you have a problem with. But you also have to look in the mirror and evaluate. Are you being a control freak? Do you think everything should be your way or the way you like it? That's another thing too. I'd say that I'm a pretty versatile individual, and I can handle a certain amount. One thing I don't like is a dirty house, and because I'm not going to sit in the bed and roll it out with my feet. But I'm pretty well versatile about everything. I don't mind handing over the reins. A strong person can be like, here, if you can handle it, that's fine. But if I see that you're messing everything up and you're not doing it right, I'm going to step up and say something to you about it. And eventually, if you continue to ignore me and things are continuing to be not going right, I'm just going to take over the reins and do it myself. That's the way that it has to be. You can't continue to stay with a person who disrespects you over and over and over again, and then they will use that. Well, you have to love me the way I am. No, I don't. You need to fix yourself. You need to become emotionally balanced. You need to become the individual that you were meant to be before all of that trauma messed you up. Because there's a great person in there that has so much potential to be a great partner, to be a great contributor to society, to be whatever. But as long as you hold that trauma, you're actually kind of toxic. And people don't like to look at themselves and say, I'm toxic. People don't want to look at themselves and say, I'm toxic. I need to heal. I need to take vitamins. I need to exercise properly. I need to do all of these things and take care of me. You have got to do the work if you want to have any sort of meaningful, healthy relationship with a romantic partner. And those of you complaining that you keep getting with someone like that, and you're telling the truth, because there are those who like to say that, because then they can lure in their next victim that way. You have to pay attention to the red flags. I noticed them pretty much right away. Now, after the fact, but it's just the point that I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to hold that and be like, oh, I'll never love again, or I'll never, no, because that's torturing me. No, hell no. They're not going to win. I'm not going to let them win to that point. You know, I still believe in love, and I still believe that there is that out there when you're compatible with the right person. And I'm just going to be more careful, you know. I'm going to get to know a person. I'm going to watch the red flags, you know. I get with people a lot who like to use me. So I need to pay attention to that. They're jealous because I'm a very hard worker, or I am pretty versatile and can handle pretty much anything, you know, or they see that as something they could use or whatever. I have to be careful to watch for the red flags of people like that. And whatever you go through, you have to be careful to watch for those red flags, or you're going to keep repeating the cycle over and over and over again. Let the people who refuse to heal go sit in their own torture of their own making, you know, with people just like them. And let the rest of us who are saying, hey, you know, let me get me right. I don't want to be toxic. I don't want to have my behavior and my life dictated by that incident or that one person. I don't want to traumatize other people because of that. So I'm going to get myself healthy and get myself right. And I'm going to be more particular next time, very discerning next time. Because people who are putting on an act can only act for so long. Things will slip through. You will see the red flags. Don't blow them off. Okay? Don't blow them off. If somebody has a problem with something and you start seeing little things, pay attention. Just pay attention to it. And try not to get yourself into another situation where you're afraid to love, because otherwise this world is going to become a world full of highly narcissistic people, or people with high narcissistic behavioral patterns, because we're scared to bond with another human being and have that human being go and traumatize us again. It's just trauma after trauma after trauma. And eventually, a few hundred years go by, and everybody's acting that way. You get what I'm saying? Treat other people the way you want to be treated. Okay? Be careful. Pay attention. Don't fall for the love bombing. Don't fall for the, any of that. I love everybody. So, for me, I just have to pay attention to the red flags, And I suggest that you guys do it as well. Because bitching about a problem and complaining about a problem without coming up with a solution for it and fixing the problem is just whining. And that's what's hidden in plain sight.